So the next speaker, talking about courage, because when you're forced with a choice, when you're forced to bend your values or lose your job, there are many courageous people in the state that are saying, I will not bend my values. You can fire them if you want to. I'm going to fight back. And so a lot of people are in that situation. But right now, we want to bring up the Port of Seattle police officer, Greg Anderson. Please come out.
Is what I'm doing right. Now, I want to remind you that regardless of where you stand on the coronavirus, we don't have the authority to do those things to people just because a mayor or a governor tells you otherwise. I don't care if it's your sergeant or your chief of police, we don't get to violate people's constitutional rights because somebody in our chain of command tells us otherwise. It's not how this country works. Those are de facto arrests. You know, we're violating people's rights and taking money from them, or even worse, arresting them and depriving them of their freedom when they are exercising their constitutional rights.
Thank you guys, I appreciate it. As you can see, I wore my Joe Kent shirt tonight. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it. And I just wanted to say a quick piece on him. Him and I were Young Rangers together in 2nd Battalion. We go way back, and seeing what he's doing is extremely exciting. So if you're in his district, make sure you're voting for him. You know, I'm not typically a public speaker. This isn't something that I typically do. Carrie's been hounding me for a year and a half now to come to some of the events, and I appreciate the opportunity. But what I do now, I have a podcast. I really preach courage and resilience and fighting for your liberty. I built a huge following on that, and it's cool to see that there's a lot more people that are like-minded than we're led to believe. We're told, you know, that the overwhelming majority of Washingtonians support all the stuff that's happening to us. But when you speak to people face to face and you go out in your community and you make connections, you find that nothing could be further from the truth. So I'll give you guys a little background on my story and then just kind of where I'm at today, because I think the message of courage is probably the most important thing we're facing right now. You know, I went into the military in 1999, and I always tell people it wasn't to serve my country or because I felt a duty to do so. It's because I was an 18-year-old kid and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. But luckily, for whatever reason, when I was sitting in the recruiting office, he's like, what do you want to do? And I said, what's the hardest thing that I could do? And he said, why don't you try and be an Army Ranger? And I said, okay. So I knew nothing about the Rangers. I didn't know what their mission was, but it was hard. I like challenges, and so I accepted that. And so I went in, I got accepted. I went through it was RIP at that time, the Ranger Indoc program in 1999, and I got stationed at 2nd Battalion right here in Fort Lewis, Washington. And then fast forward, I was actually in Ranger School on 9/11, and that's when our whole world changed as veterans and service members. And if anyone in this room was active duty during those times, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so after that, it was a whirlwind of deployments. I ended up doing 14 combat deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan, and it was in 2009 I was deployed to Iraq, and I got an email, and it said, it was just a picture of a pregnancy test. And my wife said, I get choked up thinking about this, but she goes, it's time to put this behind us. Because she knew how many Rangers that we lost and how dangerous that job was. And she goes, we've decided to become a family and I can't do this alone. And I don't know, I mean, God bless the guys, the men and women that serve with children and deploy for long periods of time. I don't know how you guys do it, because the day she was born, just like most of you guys in this room, your life is forever changed. And so we decided it's time to put this behind us, and it's time to pursue a new path and a new career. And like many soldiers, law enforcement is kind of a seamless transition for a lot of us. So I ended up working for several different agencies. I was a deputy and I was a police officer for roughly 10 years, and that takes us all the way up to 2020. And that day that I was in my patrol car, prior to that video, I was in the lunchroom with probably 15 different police officers. 100% of the officers that I spoke with in my department did not support any of the stuff that we saw. And being in the profession of law enforcement for a decade, I had friends all across the country in the profession I've yet to meet the cop that supported trampling on people's constitutional rights and their freedoms. And so this wasn't a 70-30 or a 90-10 split. 100% of police officers that I knew were disgusted about what was happening, but we weren't hearing anything. And it became frustrating because every time I turned on the news or every time I scrolled through my phone, what do you see? You saw our brothers and sisters in blue arresting people for going to the park, arresting people for going surfing, arresting people for trying to make an honest living. And the one thing that I still remember to this day that was the straw that broke the camel's back was there was two young Hispanic ladies in Texas doing nails out of their basement. And they sent in undercover officers and they arrested them. And I had it after that. Because I can't look at police officers that are doing that and call them my brothers and sisters. When you trample on people's liberties, we are now at odds with each other. And what I finally realize is that if the profession, if someone inside the profession doesn't stand up and say, hey, that's not what we do, what we're gonna find is we're gonna widen the gap between the public's trust and the profession of law enforcement. And it was happening more and more every day. And remember, this was 3 weeks before George Floyd and before the whole country turned on the profession as a whole. And I was worried that our behavior in the uniform was going to cause the public to develop distrust for us. And so I got asked by my chain of command after the fact, why did you have to do it in uniform? That is why. Because it needed to come from an officer in uniform speaking to other officers in uniform.
True.
I thought that would have the most impact. And so, after I made that video, I uploaded it. I knew what I did. I knew that there was the potential for there to be backlash. You know, I'm not stupid, but I understood that fighting for our rights and our liberties is important. And if they want to take a paycheck away because I'm standing up for that, I've always been successful at what I put my mind to, and I'll do something different with my life. My commander called me within a couple hours of that video being posted, and he said, Greg, that was powerful. That was a great message, and this department supports you 100%. And I can tell you, I breathed a sigh of relief because I was like, okay, I'm good now. You know, I have 2 houses, I have 3 small children, I'm doing the same grind that every other American is doing. And the thought of starting over at 40 years old was intimidating. But the thing is, it doesn't matter how hard they intimidate us. They want to intimidate us. They want us to feel fear. They want us to be reluctant to stand on our own 2 feet and say and do what is right. So that same commander called me back about 3 hours later, and I could hear the tone in his voice had changed. And he said, hey Greg, I know we already talked about this, but I've been directed to tell you it has to come down. And I said, what are you talking about? And he goes, well, it's already at over 400,000 views. It looks like it's gonna go viral. And this is what he tried to say to me, and to me, like, it just made him sound weak and pathetic. He goes, it's already been ripped a bunch of times, it's on YouTube, it's on Twitter, your message is out there. But if you pull your copy down, that shows that you're complying.
Wrong word.
You remember when Leonidas wasn't willing to take a knee because his knee hurt? That's how I am. I would literally rather die than rescind my words about liberty and freedom. So I told him, I said, if you want to fire me for telling police officers to respect people's constitutional rights, then that's what you're going to have to do. And that's what they did. And so, you know, everything in law enforcement, everything in government moves like pond water. It was a long, convoluted process, several different hearings, and at the end of the day, I was terminated for insubordination because I refused a direct order from a commander. But I'll tell you what, it's the best thing that ever happened to me, and it was a true blessing in disguise. Because if you stand up for what you believe to be true, and you stand and you're courageous, and you voice that, and your actions reflect that, God and the universe is going to give back to you. And that is exactly what happened to me. And so, I can mention the GoFundMe because it's public, but the thing is, America took care of me. They said, hey, we like that message. That resonated with us, and his department did him dirty, and we're going to give back to you. And it was really incredible for my family to just feel the overwhelming support from not just Americans, but the world. Because we're not battling this alone as Americans. Look what's happening in Australia, Germany, Austria. Like, this is a global fight for freedom. That if we don't stand up right now, we might lose this forever. And so, I always tell people, my biggest message is we need to stand up and we need to resist at any and all costs. And so, I started my business in 2015. I'm a jiu-jitsu instructor and I own a CrossFit gym in Lake Stevens, Washington. And it was always just more of a hobby than a viable source of income. I had about 25 members. I'd get off patrol and I'd go up there and I'd roll with the guys and we'd lift weights, and it was more of a club. And then you fast forward to today, we have over 350 members. And I don't say this to boast or beat my chest, but me and my family are making a substantial more amount of money right now than we ever made as a law enforcement officer. And the reason that I say that is because you can't let your paycheck paralyze you. You have to know that if you find yourself at a crossroads where, okay, I need to support my family, I need to make sure I have good benefits, or I'm chasing my retirement, but they're asking me to do this. There are a lot of cops, and this might not be popular to say because this crowd is obviously a strong supporter of the profession of law enforcement. But there is a lot of cops, in my opinion, that are not standing up to their oath. We cannot bend the rules 1% as police officers. Because if we do, you know, the old analogy, it's a slippery slope. And what we're finding as American citizens right now, it's the frog in the pot analogy. They've been turning up the heat, turning up the heat, turning up the heat, and there are people out there right now that don't even know we're rapidly approaching boiling point. Everybody in this room, myself included, had that aha moment, right? When we first were told to shut down our businesses and do this and do that, they used a fear tactic, and it worked on most of us, and it worked on me, because this is new to everybody. So I shut my gym down, and you know, days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, and I started seeing, and everybody in this room saw it, the essential versus non-essential list. It became very apparent that anything that padded the pockets of the government was somehow deemed essential. Marijuana, alcohol, and I'm pro everything. You do you, I do me, right? But when it's cool to go buy alcohol, but it's not cool to work out, now we're starting to have some kind of issue. Government construction contracts were essential, private construction contracts were deemed non-essential. Swinging a hammer, right? Yes. And so the final straw for me was the tabs on my truck expired. And this little red sticker that I needed to purchase, I was like, you know what? This is money that's gonna go into the government's pocket, so I bet that's essential. But I'm gonna call and double check. And I said, hey, are you guys open? And they said, yeah, we've been deemed essential. Come on in and renew your tabs. And at that moment, that told me one of two things. A, this whole thing is a bunch of BS. Or B, and even more nefarious, it is dangerous, but they want you to risk your safety for a little sticker because it gives them money. So either way you look at that, I'm done playing your game, period. And I'm a confrontational person by nature. I like fighting. Obviously, you don't become an Army Ranger and deploy for a decade if you don't like fighting. And so, I opened my gym up. I said, we're fully open for business, and I want someone to come and try and stop me. And guys, listen, that's cool to say up here with a microphone and have a room full of people clapping for me, but I can tell you, like, again, I'm gonna feel emotional right now. when I would go open my gym to teach people how to lift weights and how to fight, I would take my AR-10, 10 magazines, my body armor, and I told my wife this verbatim. I said, I fought for a decade.
Yes.
I put buddies in the ground for this country. And this gym is my last thing that I have to feed my 3 babies. And if any man thinks he's going to take that from me, he will be fighting me to the death. And I'm sorry if you're the Snohomish County deputy that got dispatched to that call, but you as a man need to make a choice.
Yes.
Are you going to deprive me of my freedom? Or are you going to do the right thing and side with me?
Yeah.
And this is just by chance that, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Adam Fortney up in Snohomish County. He said, I will not support any of these measures, and my deputies will not be dispatched to any of these calls. And I ended up talking to Adam personally, and that, again, a big sigh of relief, because I literally thought, I don't know if you guys follow Ian Smith, if anybody knows who he is. He's a friend of mine that we connected. He's on the East Coast, he's in New Jersey. He did the same thing that I did. He kept his gym open. And he was put into a cage on 5 different occasions, walked out of his gym in handcuffs. And thank God he did, because he's still here and he's a friend of mine. But I told my wife, I'm not going to be made a spectacle. No one's putting me in handcuffs. And if this is my last day on earth, I've come to terms that my beliefs and what I stand for may cost me my life. And just because I'm not in the Middle East anymore, it hasn't changed. So this is my message to everybody now. And again, it's kind of funny that Carrie asked me to do this, because I'm not a politically driven person. I think everything that we are facing comes down to us as individuals first. Joe Kent and Doug Basler and Donald Trump, those guys can help us if we get them into office. But they can't save us. No one can save you except yourself. And so the way that I'm structuring my life now, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what the future holds. Are we going to keep going down this evil trajectory, having more and more of our rights taken away? Or are we going to turn this around? Are we going to get the right people in office? This room full of people, everybody agrees on what needs to happen. But unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that still have their head up there, you-know-what. And so moving forward, for me and my family, the conclusion that I've drawn is we need to be ready. We need to be prepared. We need to be healthy. We need to be fit. We need to be ready to bring the fight if that day ever happens. And if you talked about this stuff a couple years ago, you were a crazy conspiracy theorist. But I don't think there's a person in this room that would say that having some basic preparations and some plans in place at this point seems unreasonable. When does it stop? I don't know when it stops. I know Australia is putting people in camps. I've heard they're building camps in Centralia, Washington, in Eatonville. These are the realities that we are facing as Americans and as Washingtonians and just human beings. And if we're not willing to put everything on the line right now at any given moment, they're going to keep taking and taking and taking. And if you're complicit, or this is what I tell people, at this point, if you're compliant, you are complicit.
Yes.
Every single last one of us needs to draw that hard line and not be willing to be pushed back 1 inch with the masks, with the vaccines, with your business. If you own a business, open your business. If you don't want the vaccine, don't take the vaccine. Pull your kids out of public school. That's what I did. You know what, and some of the other speakers have talked about this. What's the most important thing for all of us? It's our children, it's the next generation, it's their future. If we don't take the necessary steps right now, their futures may be lost. That's not their fault, that's our fault. And that's why I'm willing to risk it all. And that's why I've come to the conclusion come to terms with it in my own mind, that if this fight costs me everything, it costs me everything. And if you're not willing to make that commitment to yourself, stand by and see what happens to this country. This country was founded on men that were not willing to budge at all. The king wanted us to pay taxes, and you know what they said to the king? Something that I'm not going to say into the microphone, right? If you guys listen to my podcast, just be aware I'm a potty mouth, and it's extremely aggressive, and it's pretty ridiculous. But I'm trying to contain myself here, all right? But no, we need to draw those hard lines, and we need to not be willing to step back an inch. We need to be unwavering. And if we do those things together and as a collective, we can take this country back. Amen. I know there's a lot of other speakers, and there's more stuff to get to. I just wanted to tell you guys my piece. I think at the foundational level of what this country needs, it needs courage. We need to reinvigorate the American spirit of defiance. I appreciate it, guys. Thank
So give you a big round of applause for my best friend, Doug Basler. Come on up!
So I get to speak at my meeting? This is weird.
Come on, Doug! Woo!
So my name's Doug Basler, and I'm a candidate for Congress in the 9th District. And Matt Larkin came late, and so he didn't know that all 5 of us are here. Derek Chartrand is here, Keith Swank, who else? Oh yeah, Jared Sessler. I'm taking a trip with Jared in another week or so. I think we're trying to talk Marty and going down to Turning Point USA to their big meeting, and of course Matt. And so all 5 of us are in the room at the same time. We can take the House with just this group. So somebody told me the other day, there's not enough of us. I say, we don't need the majority. We just need a small, passionate minority, and we can take them. And so I'm very excited about that. I have 5 kids. They're all boys except for the 4 girls. So I'm used to conflict and turmoil. I mean, have girls. It'll change your life. Imagine 4 Carrie Frenches. Yes, she's managing my campaign. She's my personal assistant, and I think I'm going to have to adopt her. So, it's just, all right. You're not quite young enough, but almost. So God bless you guys for coming. I'll tell you, for many years I've run this race, and I always felt like, I'm charging hell with a water pistol, right? Because a lot of Seattle was in the 9th District. Well, that just changed. The 9th District just kind of moved out of Seattle. It just kind of moved south. And so I've got a lot of Auburn. I don't come down here to Enumclaw. Phil's like, what you doing in my area, man? This isn't even. I said, I came to Enumclaw because Enumclaw's been showing courage. Because Enumclaw businesses are saying, up yours, Inslee. We're not playing this game. And I know our beer tonight from Headworks, come on. They're facing some stuff right now. And so I'm standing with those guys, and I was just so happy that they were here. And all the volunteers, Cheryl Marshall, and just all the the great. We have Michelle Darnell over here, and your group is Ignite Washington. She helps candidates get elected. Just so many great people. I saw the chair of the 47th district was here earlier, Don Caltesi. There he is. The chair of the 33rd. Yeah. Is there anything she doesn't do? No. No dancing. Sweet. I'm signing us up for a dancing contest. I always felt like I was just like, hey, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to get abused, and I'm going to get beat up, but somebody's got to stand up in the 9th for what's right. Amen. And so for many years, I've been, a PCO. I was the vice chairman of the King County Republican Party. I was vice chair of the 47th District. I've been a PCO for over a decade. And I got in because no one would get in. No one would run against the guy. So I found the $1,740 and I paid it, and I got in. and I realized, hey, this is pretty fun. Debating Adam Smith. He is what he is. He's a career politician. Whichever way the wind blows, that's the way Adam blows. So everybody knows Adam blows. We'll edit that out later. Right, Glenn? Glenn's like, no, unfortunately, it's going out on the internet right now, so I can't do anything about it. Sorry, Adam, if the shoe fits. But this year, there's something different. There's something special in the air. And I like what Jim Walsh and Jesse and my friends in the legislature, there's like sometimes there's a wave and there's a chance. And we have a real shot this year at winning the 9th. And so I'm all in. And you're going to see that I work hard. And I'm going to work really hard. And I'm going to win this seat. I've been fighting for this seat. There's only... Keith Swank's longer. 2012 he got in the first time, and I met him, and we side by side, and this is our year, bro. And now you're down in the 10th, and the 10th is like Thurston County and all that stuff down there. A little bit of south. Does it go to Tacoma? Is it part of Tacoma? Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, and so we can win this. My good friend Glenn Morgan, who spoke a little bit earlier, said we are now polling Republican plus 13. So I'm going to go over my policies, but I just want to tell you what I would do with your money. But first, I just want to say, let's go, Brandon. And I want to remind you that there's shirts and stuff over there, and Dave is a great guy. He makes all of our signs and all my signs and stuff. He's just a great guy. Dave CBS, great guy. So I own Prologue Digital, EasyTVSpots.com. It's a television commercial production company, and Planet Fitness, you see their ads, that's us, stuff like that. So as a candidate, as a federal candidate, I can't be censored.
Yeah. Come on.
So, my good friend Tambourine Borelli. Now, Tambourine, let me tell you about Tambourine. I met Tambourine in 2018, right? And she was running as a Bernie Sanders progressive in the 10th congressional race. And she called me up and she said, well, you probably don't want to make a commercial for me. And I thought, well, you aren't going to take any votes from the Republican. Heck yeah! I'm a capitalist. But there was something about her that she was just kind of like a nice person. And so after the fiasco in 18, we got in a lawsuit together to demand, so we decided we were gonna all go down. There was 4 on the left and 4 on the right, and Keith was in that group, and Art Code is back there, Dr. Code. And so we got together, and Tambourine's one of the lefties, and we're the right, and one of the first meetings we all get together, and this guy's going on and on. One of our guys is about, we need socialized health care and everything, and me and Keith are just sitting there not saying anything, and I finally go, we're not for that. And he goes, I was getting that vibe. I go, but we are for election integrity, and we can work on that. And so, anyway, so I go to Sonic Drive-In one day, and Tambourine Borelli calls me. And she goes, I was talking to my friend the other day about Jussie Smollett. You guys following that trial? Oh my gosh, that's a train wreck. And she goes, Tambourine, you sound like a Republican. And I go, oh, that's nice, Tambourine. And I'm getting my order or whatever. And I start to pull out of the driveway, and she goes, Doug? I go, yes, Tambourine. I love Donald Trump! I love him! I almost drove into the ditch. I'm like, who are you, and what did you do with Tambourine? No, I got happy. She goes, what do I do now? What do I do now? I said, Saint Jesus, come into my heart. She goes, no, I'm good with Jesus. I like Jesus. And so she tells me all the time, they have this narrative that we are the devil, that I'm the devil, that Keith's the devil, that Art's the devil. And she started hanging out with us, and she realized not only were we not the devil, we were pretty nice. And we actually cared about them as people, and we weren't stupid. And she started thinking, they want to make America into a communist country. I love America. I live here. She changed. And now she's being attacked by mainstream Republicans and all that. Oh, she's a plant, and she's this left-winger and all that stuff. She's not a plant. She's converted. Did you guys know that Winston Churchill said, if you're not a liberal when you're young, you have no heart. And if you're not a conservative when you're old, you have no brain. So we were all kind of liberal when we were younger. And we all got to switch. Can we please let these people switch to our side? So, anyway, sorry if I embarrassed you, Tambourine. You know I love you. She's amazing. All right, so number one issue, election integrity. We gotta fix 2020 before we move forward. I'm in the lawsuit. I'm the lead plaintiff on the King County lawsuit suing Julie Weiss for a full forensic audit of the election. You are an easy crowd. We knew we were onto something when we got the letter from Perkins Coie. They want to intervene in the case as a defendant. Who does that? Because they don't trust them to defend themselves. You know, this guy comes out and he's doing the January 6th thing. Jared was at January 6th. Ask him what happened. Freaking nothing, right? And so he's like, well, he pulled the Fifth Amendment, so he's guilty. I'm like, well, why are they erasing servers and destroying ballots? Because they're guilty. That's not even protected by the Fifth Amendment. For crying out loud. So election integrity is a big deal with me. And so we only have two choices, people. The ballot or the bullet. That's it. That's how power changes hands in the world. And so we better fix the ballot. Now, I don't have like a huge arsenal like Keith Swank, but he said he would loan me one. So, Keith came over to my office the other day, and he was telling me about not wearing a mask at McMenamins. You need to ask him about that story. It's a riot. He's like, we're going to get house service to remove you, and Keith's like, I'd like to see that. I'm going to call the Tacoma Police Department. That'll be fun. Let's get him in here. It's like, he's a tough little SOB. That's my buddy. You can stand in front. I got your back. So in Day of Infamy, we think of Pearl Harbor, December 7th, and God bless our vets. If you're a vet, first responders, all these guys, we love you. And you're under a lot of pressure right now, and we're here for you. But there's another Day of Infamy, March 25th, 2020, when Jay Inslee said, you can't have church. And you can't do anything, but you can have an abortion, you can get some dope, you can buy some booze. Just make sure when you're committing adultery, you wear a mask, I guess. I don't know. They used to tell us to get a condom, but now it's a mask. Save something. None of it's safe. The commandment is, thou shalt not commit adultery. Sorry, that's it. I saw these flash mob people stealing, right? I'm like, obviously their mom and dad didn't teach them the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not steal. It's wrong, right? I don't care if you've been oppressed or whatever. You're stealing somebody else's stuff. It's wrong. Knock it off, right? So I can list them all, but I'll just tell you, it's time to fight. And that's why I'm so glad that Trooper LeMay came and Greg Anderson came and all these other guys. I'm a fighter. So April 26th, 2020, I met this man right here, Mike DiLorenzo. We went down to Ruston Point in Tacoma, and we started having street church off the back of my pickup. As a matter of fact, this is my street church PA system that we're using right now. So if you want to make noise, this baby cranks. When I crank this baby up and I start preaching and playing my guitar, I'm like Billy Graham down there. Because it's like you hear your voice, right, brother? You hear your voice echoing off the buildings and stuff. It's awesome. And so we've gone toe to toe. Marty talked about how they tried to run us off the Capitol, and we complied. But I had an attorney online, and I said, get your phone, record this. I explained to them, and then Glenn Morgan and I went back, and he did a big thing, let's get arrested, and we went back, and he was at my office the night before, and he gets a call on his cell phone. They said, oh, we've changed all the rules. You guys have a nice event. Yeah. And I'm like, yes, you did. If we push back, we win. I've often heard preachers say faith is like a muscle, but your rights are definitely like a muscle. Freedom of speech is not freedom of speech if you're too scared to say anything. It's only freedom of speech when you stand up and talk and do something. And so that's what we've been doing. I'm down feeding the homeless down in Olympia, and every Saturday morning I can see the Capitol building. I'm right across from the transit center. There's a lady that's been down there for a decade. I go down there and sing worship music and preach real loud, and I'm proclaiming over the Capitol, this is our state. This is not their state. They've stolen it with election fraud. They are stealing it, and they're taking our rights, and we are not going to comply. Period. Is my wife here? I don't see her. Is she here? Okay. Well, anyway. So we go to Winco the other day, getting our Thanksgiving stuff, because Winco is like 50% cheaper than everybody else. And so she's like, oh, I forgot my mask. I go, just don't wear the mask. Oh, but I know there's masks in your truck. I had them in there. I'm like, if I find them, I'll burn them. I said, just go in without the mask. So we go in there without the mask, and then we get home, and she's like, I didn't wear a mask. She's all happy. She goes, people saw us not wearing masks, and they took their masks off. I go, that's the point. Everybody's like, oh, Costco's the worst. Costco's the worst. I go over to Costco in Covington over here. I walk in, no mask. They hand me a mask. I say, thank you. I put it in my pocket. I did my shopping. I went into one place. The lady says, do you have a mask? I said, no, this is my real face. Such as it is. See, you guys like the comedy stuff. You probably don't want me to talk about my issues. But look, number one issue, election integrity. We're going to fix it. I will fight. Tambourine will fight. Glenn is doing canvassing. There's election integrity from the different Republican parties, committees. We're looking, and Virginia shows us we can win. And when we're looking, they can't play that dirty stuff on us as easy. But we've got a real problem with mail-in ballot. There's no chain of custody. They always stole elections with absentee ballot. That was how they did it in the past. Now the whole state's absentee ballot. It's like a bonanza for election theft. So that's why I know two things for sure. Absolutely, certainly, Jeffrey Epstein did not hang himself, and Donald Trump won. So I at least know two things. Second, parent rights. Parent rights. Parent rights. That's our kids. That's not their kids. They don't love them. They don't love our children. They prove it. They try to kill them in the womb. And that one, the old governor of Virginia is like, oh, and if they come out of the womb and you change your mind, kill them then. I mean, it sounds like Pharaoh or something. Throw your babies in the Nile, right? The devil always tries to kill our children. And then what? Indoctrinate them. Tell them you don't have to mind your parents. You can have sex at these ages with this. I mean, just that thing about Tacoma. Oh my gosh. No. How about no? How about no? How about no? I have 5 kids, all boys except for the 4 girls. No, don't mess with my kids. Don't mess with my grandkids. No. In nature, the mother will die rather than let the little baby burn or whatever, right? And we're teaching our ladies to kill their babies. It's unnatural, okay? Along with some other things that are unnatural. I'm tired of watching kids guys on TV. My wife's watching Hallmark. She's like, how come everything has to be about the lesbian and her wife and all this? And I go, yeah, Hallmark's caved or whatever. It's like, I'm sorry, it ain't natural, okay? I mean, there's a reason why guys have what they have and women have what they have. And there's 2, and that's it, okay? And no, you don't get to pick. I mean, what is wrong? What is it about no that you don't understand, right? I mean, come on. How many parents are in here, right? No, you can't be a boy. I'm sorry. You are a girl. That's gonna go viral. It's Joe, right? Joe says, what about taxes? Too freaking high, and stop printing money. They've increased our money supply by 300% this year. Okay, without getting a loan or whatever, they're printing money. That's why gas is what it is, and well, in addition to the pipelines being closed, things like that. So if you want somebody that's going to fight for that, then that's me. Okay. Energy independence. I mean, come on. We got all the oil we need. We do not have to buy oil from people that hate us. Okay? It's like, you hate us? No! Security, safety. You know, the murder rate is what? Double, Keith? Seattle right now, it's double. It's double. Double! That's stupid. You don't defund the police, you hire more police. You defend the police, you train the police, and you tell people that murder is wrong. That's in there too. I think it's number 6. Thou shalt not murder. Okay? Seems like common sense to us, but some people it doesn't, okay? And you know, people can be forgiven, but you know, we need to have a deterrent. And so I just really, really want to support our local police. I love them, and if I get something wrong, write me a ticket, whatever. But you know, let's love those guys. Border security, come on, 2 million undocumented illegal immigrants by the end of this year. 2 million. That's an invasion, guys. That's an invasion. Finish the freaking wall. Let's finish it. Sitting down there in boxes, they could finish it. We need to get Trump back. Tell you what, people talk about impeaching and Biden. Who cares? He's gonna be dead in a week anyway. But surprised he made it this long. I mean, dude, it's like falling apart. He's farting and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, Grandpa's farting, whatever. You know, just put him down at the other end of the Thanksgiving table, right? But how about impeaching Merrick Garland? Come on. I mean, that guy needs to go. You know, they'll let him, burn down the Target store, but don't go to the school board meeting because you'll be a terrorist. If that doesn't make you really angry, nothing will. And so I'm kind of talking in circles here, but no more giant bills. The infrastructure bill, I downloaded it on my computer. I think I ran out of hard drive space. And it's like, who wrote that? You know, lobbyists and special interests wrote that. There's nobody who can write 1,000 pages. No congressman's going to sit there and write 1,000 pages. It would take you like 10 years. I mean, that's like the Bible, right? It's huge. And I was going through it, and you can't go through it. Simple bills. I'm for laws that you could like put on a page, read it, understand it. This is what it is. Let's vote yes or no. Yeah. But you vote for that, and it's like, you know, 6 months later, it's like, oh, by the way, all cops have to get vaccinated. It's in there. You just didn't. You missed it. Too bad. We voted yes. We signed it, right, or whatever. So, no, I'm saying no more of these big omnibus, gigantic bills. No, I will never vote yes on any of those. You've got me on your back. And the other thing is that being a TV guy, you're one of 435 congressmen, but I will not be silent. I don't need the job. I need the country to be saved. I love what I do. What I do is cool. I make commercials. It's, you know, I know everybody hates them, but I love them. My wife's like, so many commercials. I go, yeah, it's awesome. Half of them are ours. It's great. It's how we get paid. Yeah. So I just wanted to just tell you, I can't be censored on King 5, Como, Cairo, and as a federal candidate, I get a 15% discount. I actually get LUR, lowest unit rate. So I get TV commercials at the lowest rate they sell it for the entire year. I buy TV time all the time for many major clients. And I know what's rated. I know who's watching what, and I am not afraid to show commercials like this one.
Who are the real racists? The Republican Party was founded to abolish slavery, and over 300,000 white Republican men died to end it. The Democrats fought to preserve slavery. During the 50s and 60s, a majority of Republicans voted for and passed civil rights legislation. Democrats implemented Jim Crow laws and supported the Ku Klux Klan. Today, Republicans still fight for inclusion, freedom, and prosperity for everyone. You can help fight racism again. Vote Republican.
I'm Doug Basler. If you want to get rid of the racists, get rid of the Democrats. You know, it's like Hillary Clinton, well, that was 3 weeks ago, let's forget about it. But they want to call you a racist because you're white and 150 years ago, we had slavery, right? Yeah, slavery's bad. Slavery sucks. All my Republican brothers formed a political party and fought a war to stop it. And they were Christians. But sometimes you just got to be a little bit funny, so here's the next ad.
What happened to Washington State? Democrats up everything. Over 30 years of Democrat control have given us never-ending tax increases, and they raided the rainy day fund too. They passed a graphic kindergarten sex ed law. There's traffic, homelessness, and even in the streets. Washington can do better. This year, vote Republican, because Democrats up everything. I'm Doug Basler.
So that's what. So I actually aired that ad last year on Cairo, and I got some interesting voicemails. And you're swearing on TV and all. The voiceover guy didn't actually say any swear words. We just said words like flup and shoot in the streets and all that. But it's like it sounds cool when you bleep it because it sounds like Greg Anderson did it. And I was gonna say it kind of looked like him too, didn't it? So I'm glad to have your endorsement. I'll tell you, real courage. Marty McClennan and I have been on the radio now for about 7 years. And we've been saying something's coming. We saw this Emergency Powers Act. We said something about that. We were like, this is too much, too far. And they're like, oh, earthquake, volcano, hurricane. No, cold. Got a cold. Omicron? Yeah, it's a cold. Yeah. Gotta lock you down. Yeah. Especially if you're not compliant with our brown shirt mandates and all this stuff, right? So I'll fight for you. I'm gonna win this. I love you guys. I love this state. I ride dirt bikes, and I have a lot of Duval accessories on my Suzuki. But I was coming off the mountain, and on my way to street church, actually. I camped in the mountain. I got up early so I could get down to street church, and I'm looking at Mount Rainier, and I'm looking at the Cascades, and I said, this is my state, and I'm fighting for this. And I felt like God was very pleased with that. Because He wants us to fight. He doesn't want us to run away and hide and wait for the storm. This isn't a storm. This is an invasion. This is a takedown. And I'm not going to be taken down. And, so, enjoy our freedom. Exercise it. Say things. Don't wear this stupid mask. Okay? My wife and I sit in the office the other day. I really don't swear, but I finally just looked there and said, stop wearing the effing mask. And I said the word, and I'm surprised I said it because I don't usually say that. And she's like, okay. It's like, she's nice. She wants to get along, rules person and all that. This is too much. I go, it doesn't work. It doesn't do anything. We're 6 foot social distancing with a 30-foot range. It's stupid, right? So let's not comply. If you guys give me money, I'm going to use it to put stuff on TV. Tambourine has a beautiful ad about doing Schoolhouse Rock with this is our ballot and this is why you protect chain of custody and stuff like that. I will do that ad. I will air that ad. The truth, we have the truth, you guys. And the truth is strong, and I know the rules, and I know how to fight, and I will stand up and I will fight my ass off for you guys, all right?